He's the Warriors executive board member and, of course, Hall of Famer, former Laker player and GM. He's Jerry West, who joins us here. Great to see you, Jerry. How are you? How's life?
I'm doing great, Dan.
When's the last time you shot hoops?
Oh, my gosh. A long time ago. Seriously. When I stopped playing, actually, I didn't even want to shoot a basketball or touch a basketball. It was like I knew my time was up as a player. I knew I'd given everything that I had. And it was something I wanted to concentrate on, having what I considered a little bit more normal life. And I think a lot of people who love the game, many of them still go out and shoot around all the time. It's just not something I chose to do. I kind of got addicted to golf, and when you change from one addiction to the other, golf was the most powerful one that I enjoyed.
But did you love basketball, or you were just good at basketball?
Oh, I loved it. But Dan, I loved the competition. To me, that was the most important thing. Every night going out and competing, and I think for athletes and the ones who seem to, it seems to be such a huge part of their life where there's no other distractions, and there were no other distractions when we were players. Not like today, all the social media, all the news media around constantly being deluged by questions. The thing to me that I loved the competition. I loved the way I felt the day of the game. My body felt special, the adrenaline running through your body, and obviously you have habits. And those habits were ingrained for me from the time I was started as a freshman at West Virginia University and throughout my whole NBA career. But frankly, today, I even have some of those same habits the day of the game. I do certain things. I've always felt it helped me go into a game saying, I know I've done everything personally so I can concentrate on the games, but the competition I just loved. When I went to the game, I never even noticed there's anyone in the building. Never. And my concentration was just ridiculous. All I cared about was winning and competing at the highest level. That's all I cared about.
Well, there were stories when you were the GM of the Lakers, you couldn't watch the game because you had no control over it, but it would eat you up by watching.
Well, I spent a lot of nights in the parking lot at the Forum, that's for sure.
During the game?
Oh, absolutely. And there's some games. I remember my last year, 2001, we were playing Indiana, and I knew that after that season I was going to retire. Frankly, I was burned out. I felt enormous pressure here in Los Angeles because we'd had so many great teams for so long when I was a player, and we really weren't able to accomplish only one NBA championship. And the pressure that I felt was we were doing something for the city of Los Angeles, for all the incredible ordeals that we put them through as players. And it was just,
Wait, you
I
felt
couldn't stand
bad?
to watch it. I couldn't stand to watch it. I really couldn't. But the last game, the sixth game, we were playing Indiana in 2000. I actually drove beyond Santa Barbara. And I told a friend of mine, I said, I know this is crazy and I know it's insane, but do not call me until the game is over because I want to know the outcome of the game. And so I was up there and fidgety. I wanted to turn the radio and listen to late great Chick Hearn here in Los Angeles, who was such a icon in this city in terms of being able to broadcast a game where you felt like you're right there in the court with him. I wouldn't turn it on, and I drove, and I started driving back, and I got to about Thousand Oaks, California. The phone rings. As my friend called me, he says, relax. He says, you guys just won. And it was like, my God, what a relief. And I knew and felt really confident that Indiana could not beat us. I just knew that, but I just could not stand to watch it anymore.
But did you feel guilty because as a player you couldn't bring this city more championships?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And that affected you when you were the GM that you wanted to give back because you put him through so much heartbreak?
No question. And I think that the thing that was so raw for me, Dan, was that, our fans became, when we first came here, we were nothing. The Rams were drawing 100,000 people. The Dodgers were playing at the Coliseum also, and they'd draw 85 or 90,000 people. When we came here, I remember the first two games we played in the sports arena, which no longer host events today. 48. We had a counter up there, 4,800 420 people the first night. And the next night, 4,260 people. And I'll never forget, I said, I played in college, and I said, I didn't see any empty seats when I was in college. And we had, and when we got out there that night, no one was rooting for us. They were rooting for the Knicks who we were playing. So
it's a home game, and they're rooting for the Knicks.
For the Knicks it was. But that was the start of it. And, to see where this franchise has put itself in the city's eyes, it might be the most popular sports team here in town. I think the Dodgers are gaining tremendous threshold here again because their teams are good. And also I think the change of ownership probably resonated with a lot of their fans. But it was, I think, my competitive desire was almost a sickness, to be honest with you.
He's Jerry West, Hall of Famer, joining us, Stan Patrick Show. Not the best Laker, the most important Laker would be who?
Oh, my gosh. That's really a tough question. That's really a tough question because we have said so many players. If you look at the Hall of Fame, and, there's a lot of players in the Hall of Fame that baseball seems to be a lot more selective in the people they put in the Hall of Fame than the NBA. If you look at this, there's been players in different eras that have contributed so much. And I would dare to say that maybe the greatest players in the NBA's history, there's more Lakers there than any other franchise, even more than the Celtics. Celtics won a lot more, of course, and had some wonderful players. But for greatness as individuals, I think the Lakers franchise had more of those. So I think in every era, you could go and pick a couple of names that would be the people that you would think, oh, my gosh, these people have certainly played this game at an extraordinary level and for a number of years.
I look at Magic because of what was happening at the time with the NBA, the style of play that it became. You got celebrities. He sort of changed the basketball landscape in that it became an event, not just a basketball game. And that's I'm not dismissing what you meant or Wilt or even Kobe or anybody else. Magic made it magical. There was an element of, this is fun. This is exciting. This is not just a nice, crisp bounce pass here. You had flavor there. And I thought Magic might have been as instrumental as anybody in NBA history.
Well, he was. And, it's really strange. The ownership, every time you see a team change ownership, you wonder what you're going to get from an owner. And I'll never forget that when the late Jerry Buss, who I worked for so many years, and we had a lot of success as a franchise. I'll never forget the first thing he did. He said, "I want to make this about an event, and sports is not going to be secondary, but we need a team can win." And I never called Irvin Johnson Magic Johnson.
Ever?
I always called him that. But one time we made a very controversial trade, and I said to Jerry Buss, and we've been talking about it for a while. Because I said, do you want to see Irvin Johnson play or Magic Johnson play? I said, if he doesn't have the ball in his hands, he's going to be Irvin Johnson. I said, when he's got the ball in his hand, he is Magic Johnson. Okay, that's who he really is. And I think he brought a dynamic to this franchise, and he's got this effervescent personality. Still today, he's very approachable. You can't help but love him, okay? And not only as a player, but as a person. He's just got something. I've always said God sprinkles a little bit of extra gold dust on people. He certainly sprinkled a lot more on him than others.
Can you stay for another segment?
Oh, I can stay for as long as you want.
Oh, well, I don't want to get in the way of maybe playing cards at Bel Air or golf at Bel Air.
Well, cards is more prominent than playing golf. I don't play golf.
Al Michaels is there every day, isn't he, at Bel Air?
Yeah, Al's game is lacking a little bit.
Maybe you should take up cards.
I love Al, and obviously I watch him hit balls, and I say, come on, Al. but he's got a friend with him who takes pictures of him. When Al misses a shot, the language, I wish we could have it on this show. Okay?
All right, we'll continue with Jerry West. Fritzy just told me that Al Michaels is watching after Jerry West had a couple of comments about Al's golf swing. Al joins us on Friday. Is that right, Fritzy?
He joins us on Friday, and he wrote hysterical.
Can I apologize to Al?
It's too late, Jerry. He's a Laker Hall of Famer, and now he's an executive sport ever, I guess, with the Golden State Warriors, and watching that last night. Now, you get a ring if they win a championship?
Oh, I'd love to get another ring.
How many rings do you have?
I don't know. I got a couple.
What do you got? 6?
I think
7?
I think 7. Yeah,
7?
something like
well,
that.
if you can't remember how many, you got too many, Jerry.
Well, as I said, I don't wear.
There's no
things.
jewelry here.
No. To me, they're getting bigger. They almost look like.
They're bracelets.
Oh my gosh, they're so ugly now.
What's the one deal that you tried to pull off that you weren't able to do? Now that you're removed from the job.
You know, Dan, I worked for the Lakers for so many years that, and I saw a small downturn. We missed the playoff one year, and I think we were almost 500. And the next year, we were fortunate enough to be able to draft Eddie Jones, who was eventually became an All-Star. And we made almost a trade with Phoenix that was a trade that really didn't look significant on paper. But all of a sudden, we went from a team that did not make the playoffs the year before, and people actually thought that this might be the demise of the Lakers. And we made the playoff there for a couple of years. But I think the most significant thing we did, and not deals that we couldn't make, the most significant thing that really turned this franchise around, but also put us in jeopardy, was when Irvin Johnson, and you notice I didn't call him Magic Johnson, Irvin Johnson announced he was HIV positive. That was a long, sad day for this franchise. I know myself, because we didn't know much about this disease. And my only thoughts were about him. It took me 10 days to really get over it. I felt so bad, horrible for him. And finally, you get back to understanding that you have work to do. And our owner, Jerry Buss, really wasn't someone who was complacent. He wanted to push the envelope. And I've always felt that the best risk takers do the best. And we made a decision. We're going to try to sign Shaquille O'Neal in the offseason. We had a lot of money available to spend. And that to do that, we were going to have to trade our starting center, Vlade Divac. Well, there's a player that I personally just thought was the best player in the draft, and his name was Kobe Bryant. And we worked long and hard over that summer, finally able to make that trade. And then we got very fortunate to be able to sign Shaquille O'Neal. And that was a change of this franchise. And since then, he left. They were able to acquire Pau Gasol from Memphis, where I had previously worked, and won 3 more championships. And now they really have their work cut out for them, because this league is getting more difficult. It's more difficult to sign free agents because the enormous amount of money that a player would have to leave on the table. But also, if you look at the California state income tax, 12.3%, if you go to a state where there's no income tax, and I think there's 5.
Texas or Florida. No.
Memphis. Tennessee does not, and I think Washington doesn't. No, is it Washington or Oregon doesn't have state income tax? But anyway, those teams can pay players a lot more. And when you're if you sign a $100 million contract, you're going to pay, if you're here in California, you're going to pay the state $12.3 million. I think that might have some influence, unless a player who's had a long career and made a ton of money, and he might want to play for one of the Lakers or any team that, it's kind of a glamour city. So I think that was a year that was probably most critical for this franchise. And from there, that allowed this team to move into the Staples Center, which was built by the Anschutz Company, and it also housed the Kings. And that's when the financial fortunes of this team changed. Dramatically.
But did you almost not pull off the Kobe deal?
Well, I tried from the first pick in the draft. We were going to give him a very good starting center in Vlade Divac. He's good and a great teammate. He really knew what he was doing. He was a terrific player. And finally, we get down to 13, and we made a deal with Charlotte. And then Vlade's agent said, well, he's going to retire. What he was looking to do, which I told him, but he wanted to renegotiate his contract. So he had great leverage, but that to me was the best deal we ever made. I've always looked at deals sometimes when you're really pushing a deal that sometimes the best deals you don't make are the ones that you do not make.
But did you nearly trade for Charles Barkley?
No, that wasn't. I think Charles said that. We did not. And I love Charles, and I loved him as a player. And I've known him since he was a freshman in college. And he's one of those unique guys on the team. He was an enormously talented player. I don't think he gets his just due, along with Elgin Baylor. These players were
Similar in size.
Well,
I mean, height-wise.
Elgin was bigger. Charles was big, and if you could sort of take the girth and and make him taller, well, he'd have been 6'10". But
Finish this sentence, though, Jerry. If Shaq and Kobe stay together.
I don't think there's any question they'd win more championship ahead of them.
Because I always thought it was going to be what they would have accomplished instead of what they did. I think that's the story on that relationship. It's what could have been instead of what was.
Well, you had two completely different personalities. And, I watched Kobe Bryant when he first came here. He's like a little puppy. All he wanted, he would challenge you to a game. Let's go out to the beach. Let's go out to the park. He was just a basketball junkie, and he was a perfectionist. And then Shaquille O'Neal was, the big playful guy that when you found that right niche for him, my God, he would just ruin basketball games. And if I were a center, I would not have wanted to play against him. He was so physical, and he would embarrass you. Okay, some players can embarrass you by scoring a lot of points, but it was almost, men are very vain, and big guys playing against him. Oh my gosh! I can fondly see a picture more than one when we were playing Philadelphia in the finals. Dikembe Mutombo, who was a terrific defensive player, they had 2 or 3 pictures of him, Shaquille getting the ball underneath. It showed him dunking.
He got his hands up.
He was protecting himself, but he played the game with force. Okay, and a lot of players played the game with force. And a lot of players don't like to play against them. But we have seen the game change. My gosh, the three-point line has changed. We have what I consider a dearth of really talented big guys, back-to-back basket players. And if you watched our game with Houston last night, it looked like a college, high school or college game. I think the tallest player on the floor is about 6'8.5".
Yeah. Is Steph Curry the best shooter you've ever seen?
Oh, my God. He's an incredible shooter. I just...
Is anybody in his league?
I don't know. Not at all. Not at all. And I know we've had some great shooters in this league, but he's not only a shooter, Dan. He's a shot maker. I mean, he's creative. He's not the biggest jumper in the league, but his ball handling ability, he's clever, but he just makes shots that other people can't make. And having said that, I will guarantee this is the most I love this kid. He's the nicest person ever. Classy, a great shout out to his parents. They have done a remarkable job, not only with him, but his brother and his other members of his family. He's just an incredible kid to have on your side. You would never know when you're around him that the greatness he has. He handles with such class. I wish all NBA players were like that.
Game on the line, you can pick anybody in the history to shoot a three, aside from Steph Curry.
I can't answer that.
Yeah, you can.
I don't know. I hate to feel braggadocious, but I would love to do that. Yeah, I that never bothered me.
A lot of guys get alligator arms when the game's on the line.
And a lot of guys don't want to shoot the ball. And then I think Michael Jordan.
But you wanted the ball.
Well, I think a similar situation happened in the Cleveland-Chicago game. The coach of Cleveland said, hey, look, we're going to run this play. And what did LeBron James say? Just get the hell out of my way.
Just give me the bleeping ball and get the hell out of the way.
I did that 2 or 3 times in my career. But, Dan, it seems like that was in the Stone Ages, to be honest with you. The game was much more physical than grabbing and holding. Today, it's a different kind of a game. The three-point line has changed the game enormously.
But would you have changed your game for the three-point line?
I didn't have to change it much, Dan. I used to shoot shots out there. There's so much money in the game. And, Dan, I played in this league for a long time, but there's so much money in the game. today. It's truly a profession. And players go out there and going forward with the new deal that they made with the networks and also cable, the average player's salary is going to be about $8 million in 2 years. And somebody asked me, "Oh my gosh, you made quite a bit of money when you played." I said, just think the difference in money. I said, "Yeah, I made."
What was the highest salary?
$275,000, most money I ever made. And I made, 11 all-pro teams. I led the league in scoring, led the league in assists, made the all-defensive team. And somebody said, "Well, yeah, that was a lot of money for then." Well, today is monopoly money.
Okay, we see the NBA ball and we see the logo. And we've seen the picture that is you, in that you are the logo. Right?
I really don't like to talk about that because I think it's very uncomfortable for the NBA, but there's a very interesting story in the New York Times that the man who designed the logo, he said, "Yes, that's Jerry West."
But it has to be an honor. Okay. What do you think when you look at the ball and that's you? You're playing against the Trailblazers, I think. You're driving on the left side against the Trailblazers, right?
I'm not even sure, Dan.
Did you make the shot, Jerry?
I don't know, but I shot it.
But you're the I thought that's one of the great nicknames of all time. Now, you were Mr. Clutch, Zeke from Cabin Creek, but the logo, it doesn't get any better than that.
It's flattering. It's really flattering. But honestly, Dan, I don't think like that. That's just not me. I'm so happy that I was able to live my dreams as a kid and to be able to do something that I absolutely loved. I loved the competition. I told you I liked how I felt the day of the game. And I've lived my dreams. Most people don't get a chance to do it. I'm sure you're living your dreams today. But
I'm living a dream here. My dad would be in tears watching this.
Well,
because you were one of his idols.
Well, thank you.
And I can't help but sit here and think he would watch this now and then know I'd made it.
Well, as I say, I'm extremely proud of being an athlete. Sometimes it's I feel like to fly under the radar. I've never tried to place any importance on myself as a person or as an athlete. I'd like to think I'm normal, and sometimes people don't want you to be normal. And last night at the game up in Oakland, I was there, and I was walked down after the game, and our fans are incredible up there. The best fans I have ever seen in my life. I don't care where you go in the league. These are the best fans. And they're so loud, they're so vocal, and they haven't had a winning situation up there for a while. But I was going out after the game. I was with my wife, and I said to myself, these people in the hallways, "Jerry, Jerry, Jerry." I was so embarrassed. I was really embarrassed because, again, that's not what makes me work. But, it's thrilling that people recognize maybe your contribution to basketball. And I certainly started at a time when basketball was not even on the radar in terms of being important.
Well, they taped delay the championship.
Oh, yeah.
Which is pretty amazing, right?
Absolutely. And, some of the crazy things that happened to me in my life. When I was a player and we won the championship, I received a call from the NBA, and they wanted me to go to the Philippines to be the judge in the Miss Universe contest. And I'm saying to myself, why in the world would they want me to go over there and be a judge in Miss Universe contest? The Marcoses were still in power, and that's how darn old I am. They were still in power, and we go over there, and they'd built this beautiful edifice for this. And Imelda Marcos, this was her gift to the city of to the Philippines. And we get over there, and all of a sudden I start driving. I get to the airport. All these newspaper people out there, and they watched these NBA games, I think, like 3 days later. And there are enormous fans over there. And if you drive around the city, I would see these hoops that were attached to telephone poles. And I said, oh, my God, this is like when I was a kid. I used to put a hoop up on the side of a tree or whatever. And I could hardly go out of the hotel over there. It was the most amazing thing I've ever seen. And this was in 72.
Yeah.
But throughout the Orient today, basketball is growing by leaps and bounds, and it's in China. The NBA is huge.
It's great to have you. It's always great to see you. Thank you. It's an honor to have you in studio, Jerry.
Well, thank you.
Really
Dan.
mean that.
This show was great, and your minions over here.
My Dan Ants? Yes. He's the great Jerry West.